Hello you, it's me. This is just going to be a quick review of a book I just finished, which is The Drowned World by J.G. Ballard, one of the Sci-Fi Masterwork collection, which always intimidates me a bit because it's like, this is good, and it's got masterworks on it, so if you don't like it, you're wrong. So sometimes when I don't like these books, I come away feeling like, oh, I must have missed something. I must have missed the reason that people think it's good. It can make me feel a bit dumb. So this one, I'm pretty sure, written in 1962, is Ballard's first novel/novella, and is set in a world where a solar flare event has happened. It's changed the properties of Earth's atmosphere and caused a huge spike in temperature, which has in turn led to a huge sea level rise. The silt and mud carried off Antarctica during the huge ice melt event has dammed up the world's oceans and turned most of Earth into what is essentially a tropical swamp. The animals, due to the radiation, are mutating very quickly. The plants are growing to enormous sizes, and human beings are moving north and south to try and escape the ever-increasing heat. The most populated city now on Earth is a place in northern Greenland called Ballard. So the main character is a biologist who has journeyed south to the now submarine ruins of London to undertake an ecological survey. And it's primarily about his psychological shift as he becomes more increasingly over time a part of the swamp, and his run-ins with the salvage crews that come in to drain the swamps and loot the buildings for valuables. Firstly, being a late 20th century, early 21st century kid with such a generational focus on climate control and sort of damage control, climate reparation, it's weird for me to read a story that is about the environmental apocalypse that is not in some way damning humans for what they've done, in sort of that it's because of a completely random freak natural event. There's a lot in this book about genetic, lizard brain, animal memory, and how the instinct of our entire evolutionary line from millions of years ago is stored in our brain and our spine in something called lumbar memory, and how the changing climate back to something that is how the climate would have been in the Triassic period causes this memory, this dormant memory, to awaken in people in response to what is essentially an ancestral environment returning, while at the same time this lumbar memory clashes in a big way with the human psyche, which is trying desperately to cling on, remain sane, and sort of retain some semblance of civilization as everything's going to hell. Every author has a few things that they are really good at in a way that not a lot of other authors are. Everybody has their, forte. I've read a couple of Ballard's things. I've read this, The Drought, and a short story collection called Terminal Beach. And I would say that aside from environment writing, in terms of describing environments, which he's great at, he writes exhaustion, like physical deterioration, like nobody else. He's really good at that. And it's one thing all of his stories share, and you can really feel it as you're reading. The journey into madness of the characters really was what I was hoping for, but didn't get in Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. I think Ballard has really captured the blurring of the line between your own identity and the environment around you a lot more gracefully than Conrad did. It looks at humans as a part of an ecological system that doesn't really fit in that system and is the only thing trying to stay the same while the rest of the world is evolving or devolving at sort of lightning speed around it. And I do think that is a big message in this book and in a lot of books about environmental apocalypse. That if the end of the world occurs through some kind of environmental catastrophe, it will only be the end of the world for humans. The world will move on without us. We are non-essential here, and the Earth doesn't really need us, which is kind of a humbling thought that maybe as a species, we're just temporary guests. I'm not sure how realistic the science of this book is in terms of there being enough mud washed off Antarctica to drown half the world's oceans and make it land. And also the idea of Triassic era genetic memory stored in your back. I'm not sure what the state was of sort of psychology research and environmental research in the 60s. I could be completely wrong, and at the time this was written, this could have been cutting edge. But I'm not sure. I'm not that old. Also, he is an author from London, and I'm pretty sure that this book is set in the ruins of London, and I'm pretty sure that he got most of his London geography wrong. Okay, I feel like that's enough bashing. One thing I did really enjoy in this book was that at the beginning of the book, the main character, Robert Kerrans, had an association or a friendship with a military officer who he saw as being very overly civilized. And when the military leaves and the salvage crew comes in, Robert starts to see the leader of the salvage crew as a sort of villainous animal pirate. And it's unclear for quite a long time, and I think it's purposely like that, whether it's the villainous actions of this person, or whether it's totally a shift in perspective caused by Robert Kerrans' slowly slipping sanity. And I did appreciate that. I thought that was quite clever. I feel in this book that J.G. Ballard had a bit of an obsession with the word innovating or innovated. And though I understand that it's appropriate to how the characters were probably feeling, that word is on literally every other page, to the extent where when the author didn't use it for 3 or 4 pages, I thought I'd missed it and I went back to check. I enjoyed this book. Really vivid feeling. Really captured the feeling of intense weather and the stress of human conflict in deep isolation. First time I tried to read this, I got about 30 pages in. This must have been like 3-4 years ago that I tried to read this book. I got about 30 pages in and I was that close to donating it or just throwing it away. But I'm really glad I gave it a second try. Glad I stuck with it. So, yeah. 3 stars, I think. I'll give it 3 stars. Have you read it? Have you read any of J.G. Ballard's stuff? What's your favourite environmental apocalypse story? Let me know what you thought. Anything you'd like me to read? Any tags you'd like me to do? Comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you're doing alright in these dark times. Love each other, respect each other, listen to each other. I'll see you soon.